Breaking news! The Ravens might be sitting on a championship-caliber roster or a ticking time bomb. Just when fans started feeling confident about the upcoming season, some unsettling truths have surfaced. Depth issues, injuries, and under-the-radar roster gaps could derail everything unless the front office takes immediate action. And now, with a few strategic free agent moves still on the table, the pressure is on. Will they make that one final signing to push this team over the top, or gamble on internal development and hope for the best? But before we move on, make sure you hit that like button if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you feel like it, comment, "Go Ravens," down below. Let's get right into it. The Baltimore Ravens are inching closer to the 2025 season, but four glaring positional needs are still hanging over this roster like a dark cloud. Safety, inside linebacker, interior defensive line, and interior offensive line. And while some areas look better than others, the question remains, can Eric DeCosta afford to stand still, or does he need to make just one more splash in free agency? Starting with safety, the Ravens look pretty secure following the addition of elite corners and with Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks holding down the backfield. But the injury to Darius Washington put a sudden dent in that security. While Bo Brad and Susie K have shown flashes during OTAs and minicamp, are they really enough? That's the debate. If Baltimore wants a veteran presence to stabilize the position, Justin Simmons is still the name to watch. A ball-hawking safety with years of high-level experience, Simmons might be available for around $6 million after a down year in Atlanta. Even on the decline, he could be a massive boost. Julian Blackmon is another viable candidate. Think of him as a hard-hitting tackler, similar in style to Darius Washington. He may cost around $6.5 million but brings high upside. And then there's Jordan Whitehead, cheaper, likely to cost between $5.5 and $6 million, and a strong physical presence. If the Ravens want a true rotation with depth and experience, one of these names must be in play. With the free agent market drying up, the clock is ticking. Moving over to linebacker, things get even more intriguing. Trenton Simpson is locked in next to Roquan Smith, and fans should be excited about Simpson's potential. But remember, the Ravens were actively pursuing C.J. Mosley before his retirement, showing they were serious about adding another proven vet. That pursuit fell apart due to Mosley's lingering neck injury, but it revealed something deeper. The team isn't fully sold on its current linebacker depth. Two names still float in free agency, Jahlani Tavai and Eric Kendricks. Tavai struggled last year, but Kendricks? This guy had 138 tackles, 3 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles with Dallas. He's a tackling machine who could offer immediate impact. Sure, he's similar in style to Roquan Smith, which raises questions about scheme fit. But at $2.5 to $3 million, the value might be too good to pass up. Baltimore must decide whether to roll the dice on youth or secure their floor with a veteran like Kendricks. As we climb the defensive ladder, we hit a troubling spot, the interior defensive line. This is where the cracks start to show. Behind the starters, there's not much. John Jenkins, signed just weeks ago, might actually be the best remaining free agent option, and that says a lot. Raekwon Davis is intriguing, but beyond that, it's thin. Guys like Travis Jones and Washington need to step up in a major way, and rookies like Honest Pebbles might be thrust into important roles far too soon. If Baltimore can't find another D-lineman, they'll be relying heavily on internal development, and that's risky business in a conference stacked with top-tier offenses. Finally, let's talk trenches, but on the other side of the ball. The Ravens' offensive line looks solid at tackle and center, but inside at guard, there's work to be done. Two names stand out, Brandon Scherff and Will Hernandez. Scherff, despite being in his 30s, didn't allow a single sack in 17 games last season with Jacksonville. That's elite performance. He could be a one-year plug-and-play answer. Meanwhile, Hernandez is more of a long-term play. The downside? He's coming off a torn ACL and probably won't be ready until mid-season. But when healthy, he was Arizona's best lineman and could become a future starter in Baltimore. So here's the real question. What's the move? Should the Ravens push for one last veteran signing to secure depth and experience? Or ride with youth, development, and a bit of hope? And of all the names floating around, Justin Simmons, Eric Kendricks, Brandon Scherff, which one truly moves the needle? And that's exactly where things start to heat up. Because while fans and analysts can debate all day, the reality is the front office is staring at a critical fork in the road. There's a big difference between a roster that's ready to contend and one that's just hoping everything clicks. And with the AFC stacked top to bottom, the margin for error is razor thin. Let's go back to that safety conversation. Justin Simmons may have taken a step back last season, but the Ravens are no strangers to squeezing the best out of experienced veterans. Just look at what they've done in the past with players like Marcus Williams or Calais Campbell, guys who came in with questions and left their mark. Simmons still has the football IQ, the ball skills, and the leadership qualities that could make him invaluable, especially alongside a rising star like Malachi Starks. With Darius Washington out, you can't overstate the importance of experience and communication in that secondary. And if Simmons doesn't fit the budget, Julian Blackmon brings that gritty, high-effort mentality that would mesh well with Mike McDonald's aggressive, downhill defensive philosophy. The Ravens aren't looking for a star. They're looking for someone who won't miss tackles, who can handle hybrid coverage roles, and who won't get caught out of position in crunch time. Blackmon checks those boxes. Same with Jordan Whitehead. He's physical, fearless, and would bring real pop in those short yardage or red zone situations where Baltimore has to hold the line. Then there's linebacker. The moment the C.J. Mosley interest surfaced, it told fans everything. This team is not content. They trust Trenton Simpson, sure. But if they were one injury away from calling a retired veteran, what does that say about their depth? And it's not just about injury insurance. It's about playoff matchups. Do you really want to face Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes with an improving linebacker core behind the front four? That's why Eric Kendricks feels like a steal. Yes, he plays similarly to Roquan Smith, but if Baltimore gets creative, there's room for two field generals. Kendricks isn't just a tackler. He diagnoses plays like a coach on the field. And in a division that's going to feature heavy run games in Cleveland and Pittsburgh, plus high-octane passing attacks in Cincinnati, having Kendricks might be the piece that turns a top 10 defense into a top 3 one. Switching gears back to the trenches, offensive line depth is something you don't appreciate until it's gone. And Brandon Scherff is the type of signing that could save your season without ever being flashy. No sacks allowed in 17 games? That's not just solid, that's elite, especially for a lineman in his 30s. If he's still got that level in him, even in a rotational role or stepping in due to injury, he could be worth every penny. Will Hernandez, though, is the wild card. There's definite risk bringing in a guy coming off an ACL tear. But the Ravens are in a position to think about 2026 while competing in 2025. If Hernandez is back by midseason, you suddenly have a fresh, powerful interior lineman entering the final stretch of the year. He might not be the starter right away, but with the right development, he could anchor this line for years. So let's step back and look at the bigger picture. This roster is in a strong place. Lamar Jackson has weapons. The defense has playmakers. The coaching staff has continuity. But those 4 question marks, safety, inside linebacker, interior defensive line, and interior offensive line, they're not just paper cuts. They're the kind of weaknesses that get exposed in January, when every snap matters and the smallest mistake can end a season. The good news? There are still quality players out there. Veterans who can step in, make a difference, and give this team the security it needs to focus on execution rather than plugging holes. But will the Ravens make that final move? Or do they believe that the pieces they already have, the young talent, the camp standouts, the guys on the brink, are ready for the spotlight? Ravens flock, what do you think? Should the Ravens bring in one more key free agent before training camp kicks off? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that like button, and don't miss out. Check out the next video on screen for even more exclusive Ravens content.